Audio is
Welcome
there.
to
Okay.
Cobotalks,
Got it. It's there.
a monthly seminar series. Second Wednesday every month since 14th October 2020. 20 plus speakers presented on Cobotics. Our collaborating partners IHFC, BIRD, Cognitive Science Program, a Department of Humanities and Social Sciences. I Hub Foundation for Cobotics, Technology Innovation Hub of IIT Delhi, a national mission on interdisciplinary cyber physical systems by DST, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India in March 2020. A Section 8 company, I Hub Foundation for Cobotics IHFC, was incorporated on June 13, 2020. About IHFC. Advances in sensing, computation, and autonomy are enabling robots and autonomous systems to enter real world domains such as manufacturing, defense, medical, agriculture, etc., where machines must work alongside and interact with humans. We are entering an era of manned and unmanned teaming where humans and robotic systems must work together towards common goals. The four verticals of IHFC: medical, agriculture, industry, and defense. Our goals: human robot collaboration for enhancing human capability and reducing risk and improving productivity. Our objectives: research on novel technology areas of robotics and automation science, development of products for benefit of society, inculcation of startups, and promoting entrepreneurship in India. Our CQ: concept, collaborate, commercialize. From research to product. The grand projects of IHFC: medical simulator, human robot interaction control, rehabilitation robotics, drone applications, healthcare robotics, human robot interaction intelligence, intelligent sensing and secure communication, and Industry 4.0. BIRD, a center of excellence at IIT Delhi. About BIRD: biologically inspired robots and drones. The Center of Excellence on BIRD, biologically inspired robots and drones at IIT Delhi is an evolution from its humble research activities, which began a few decades ago by its faculty drawn from the Department of Mechanical, Electrical, and Computer Science Engineering. BIRD has 10 plus projects, industrial and academic, 27 plus members including faculty, students and technical staff across various departments of IIT Delhi, 150 plus publication in international and national conference and journals, 9 years of experience. Cognitive Science Program, a Department of Humanities and Social Sciences at IIT Delhi. Cognitive Science Group at IIT Delhi is to create a knowledge pool that can address relevant problems under the ambit of human cognition both for India and the world at large. It helps students acquire a strong background in theoretical frameworks and empirical approaches of one or more areas of cognitive science. Cognitive science is an emerging new field of study that endeavors to study the mind from multiple perspectives and disciplines by combining ideas, principles, and methods from psychology, linguistics, philosophy, computer science, and neuroscience. This knowledge is applied for developing a better understanding of how our minds, brains work while creating better products, tools, services, and policies. Cobotalks, leading the way in the human robot collaboration space. IHFC.
Cobotics means collaborative robotics, where human beings and robot work together.
We work on technologies of the future. We look at ways in which these technologies will actually get deployed.
We are trying to build an ecosystem here. When we talk about ecosystem, it starts from the kind of research capabilities that we are able to build. How is that we are able to instill the sense of commercialization in all those activities? When we talk about research, it's not only papers or publications.
So we have chosen four major thrust areas, you may call it. One is called the medical robotics. The second is the defense robotics. Third is the agriculture robotics. And fourth is the industry 4.0 or industry 5.0.
Mission of IHFC and the mission of IIT Delhi, there's a lot of synergy. And so we are treating IHFC as an extension of the things that we anyway want to do. The first goal of success would be creating an impact in society through some value add in terms of technologies and ideas.
I would definitely want IHFC to make an impact, an impact wherein we see indigenous products being developed, wherein we see our ecosystem coming together to see that we as an entity, we as a country, we as an ecosystem are able to build products on our own. So we should have export-oriented products being developed with whatever research capabilities we have, and that is what we want to do as a part of IHFC.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Cobotalks team, and a very warm welcome to all of you who have joined us here today for the 46th edition of Cobotalks, brought to you by IHFC, along with Bird and from IT Delhi. And of course, today we are here joined by our partner, Google for Startups. Today, we are going to actually talk about a very practical solution and knowledge, which is a must have in today's day and age. We're not going to talk about large language models, LLMs, and which are no longer actually a futuristic word or a fantasy. In fact, they're very much here to stay, and they're changing the game of SaaS and enterprise tech. But it makes you wonder how many of us are really leveraging this really and leveraging it to boost your own business. I'm sure today here we are joined by many startups. We're joined by many young want to be entrepreneurs and young students who are looking at a life changing opportunity and a game changer in the industry of AI and ML, and LLM is going to be the future. So we are today going to be learning actually how to demystify the fancy word called LLM, large language models, because to a lot of people it is still a mystery. And we will see LLMs in action. And not only that, we will unlock the best practices. And today we are joined by one of the we are privileged to actually have here with us Mithun. He's a senior software engineer at Google, and he is going to actually talk to you today on this 46th Cobotalks as to how his journey has been about cutting through the noise and dive deep into the real world application of LLM. Mithun is an expert. He is actually a speaker. He's been all over the country, all over the world, speaking about this topic. He's an expert. He's also with Google Maps. That's where he's actually as a leader today, and he is going to at the end of his talk also give you an opportunity to ask questions and interact with him. So today is going to be a fantastic session, and we can only look forward to learning a lot of exciting things for the next 1 hour to come. I would request all of you to kindly please put yourself on mute so that the speaker is not disturbed while he is making his presentation. And or if Cobotalks, can you mute everyone? Just keep Mithun uh, as a speaker. Yes. So I hope we are today joined by many startup professionals. I hope we have got a lot of leaders, developers, engineers, and anybody who's looking to make an impact on the business. So without further ado, I hand over this platform to Mr. Mithun and thank him once again and welcome him and thank him for joining us today on this 46th edition. Welcome, Mithun, and I hand over the platform to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Pia. And hi, everyone. Good evening. And let me get started sharing my screen. I hope my screen is visible and you're able to see this, what I've shared so far.
Yes, it's very much visible.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, let's then get started without further ado. And I'm going to primarily talk about some of my experiences in leveraging LLMs on various of the applications, also guiding and mentoring some of the startups as well as enterprise tech. And I have made it as a collection of
I think, Mithun, we can't hear you. I can't seem to hear you at all.
Oh my God. Okay, I was muted. Let's see. It's still audible,
Can you,
right?
now you're audible, but I think you have to rewind a bit because we missed whatever you said at the beginning because you were
Sure.
muted.
Okay, no problem. So I was just giving a quick introduction that I've been with Google for about 2.5 years. I'm currently an engineering manager in the fraud defense team, where we work on identifying any kind of fraudulent activities that happens on Google Maps and how we could go about in finding it. My previous work has been with Uber, Amazon, Flipkart, and so on. Overall, about 18 years of industry experience. My current research interest is around GNN, AI explainability, because that's coming up to speed and we wanted to make it even better. I've been also a visiting faculty at a few universities like BITS Pilani, UPS, and so on. That having been my quick intro, let's get started on the actual work that I do at Google. Google Maps have really evolved from being a digital atlas where we were showing the digital version of whatever we were seeing physically as a maps into something that users were looking at fresh, up-to-date information. So anything which is a blocker needs to show up on their application on real-time basis, near real-time. And the disruptions could be as heavy as something like a snowstorm or like stalled vehicles. All of this needs to come in very quick. And this rich information, where do you think we can get this? Any idea? Where do you think we can get this real point, like point-to-point information, how things are happening?
Has to be Google.
Yeah, feel free to also type in your answers. It makes it a lot interactive. And if there is something that you would want to answer, please raise your hands as well. From users, very good, thank you. So users actually give us all of these, and you and I as users have contributed a lot onto maps. So all of these data comes from users. While we have all right intentions, some of these are actually funny. Do you notice what's happening here? People started to use this in a lot more creative way, saying that, hey, police checking hai idhar, which means that you now know that you can avoid certain routes and you can avoid the cops, which is not what we intended to do, but started, all of these were creative. And then it went on to even something beyond this. For instance, people started to review some of the government institutes like police stations, and then they were saying, this was one from Alua police station. They were saying, we stayed here for 5 days, they gave a 8-star treatment, chicken biryani, and so on. Like, all of these are funny statements that we can just kind of laugh at it and ignore. Uh, but it gets a lot more riskier with these, and this is where my team comes in. The first is fraudulent activities, which is the very a direct team that I currently lead at Google. So fraudulent activities could be as simple as something like this. When you notice this, this is an overlay on an image which is shown here, right? So someone has reviewed a point of interest, a business, and then they said free home delivery as an overlay text. Now, what kind of problems might arise from this? Now, here users are redirected to call a number. It could be an unknown number, and then they could ask for something on the monetary side. There could be financial fraud once we have this, because this is not coming from the actual merchant who's selling this, right? So very similar kind of activities can exist. Another could be vandalism. Whenever there is geopolitical situation, you notice some of the examples like this, where it's a insult on Palestine, and then it has gone about in writing it. Very similarly, it could also be low quality images, which are all are irrelevant. Now, when you look at this, how do we reduce the overall fraud abuse in general? It would definitely not be scalable with humans in the system. We need to involve machine intelligence. This is where my team comes into play. We are looking at various of the modules that we can start to identify, we can start to put through abuse and reducing it. Now, having said this as the foundation, AI is actually racing forward at breakneck speed, as we all see in our day-to-day lives, right? We are in an AI-driven revolution where we can see various pivotal points that have happened across an AI. It could be steam power, which was a first revolution. Industries came in, electricity then came in the 1800s, and then towards 20th century, IT came in. And right now, where we are is another pivot, artificial intelligence. It has grown beyond the hype that we all started to look at. We see real effective solutions to the problems that we are encountering. And this is where it gets interesting. So I'm sure you're all aware of this, but just thought of rewinding what the various terminologies that we are talking about. So we have artificial intelligence as something that any of the machines can start to imitate human behavior. So we have something to see, we have something to hear, we can talk. So can we make a system to imitate whatever human behavior is? This is where artificial intelligence comes in. This is the broader bucket. And then within this, can we try to identify by learning the data and identifying some pattern? That's the machine learning part. And even within that, would we be able to correctly identify, very similar to how a brain would think like, right? And that's where deep learning comes into play. And even within it, a subset is generative AI. Would systems be able to generate things on its own? Right? As of now, we were just using it for classification, clustering kind of problems. Would we be able to generate text, music, video, audio, and so on? This is where the whole AI picture comes into play. This is evolving from the initial use cases of classification, prediction, understanding to something like generation as well. Now, this is transforming as well in terms of how we interact with technology on a day-to-day basis. The pivot now I want to leave you towards is on LLM, because most of the LLMs is now called with various names, Gen AI being another one. Gen AI stands for generative AI. I could broadly think of these 5 categories that any generative AI could start to do, right? It could be at creation of some of these, either text to text, or text to image, or text to video, or text to audio, and so on. Second could be summarization. You give it a very large book, it would summarize, condense, and give it to you. The third is discover. You want to search for something, very specific information about diagnosis, how to do something. It can do it for you. You could automate end-to-end services, and you could make sure that your customer support or anything around sentiment analysis, feedback analysis, all of these are taken care. And fifth is about converse. So you can skip having humans in the loop for solving some of the customer support problems. These are the 5 broad categories that we could think of. Now, what we are going to look at is, in terms of how do we take this and how do we apply on various of the industry. This has actually transformed all of the industry that you could look. It could be retail on one end, to healthcare on the other, manufacturing on the other, media, gaming, communications, across the industry, you name it, and you do have it. And this is going to continue for a foreseeable future across supply chain, logistics, productivity, procurement. You can think of each and every role getting impacted, each and every mode of the communication getting impacted, be it text, be it code, be it audio, video, and be it any of the roles that you are in. You will be impacted with this uh, paradigm shift that's happening. Now, we spoke about this create, summarize, discover, and automate use cases. I just wanted to show you some of them from before we go deeper onto the concepts. Um, Now, this is an application. You have some text which is written, and what you see on the right is Gemini, but this applies to any other large language model, which is learning, and then it would be able to act on the prompt that you're telling. Now, this is a OCR, right? Optical character reading. So I'm saying that read the text in the image. So I'm showing it a text, and then I'm asking it to read the text. So it gives the output something like this. The best dreams happens when you are awake. It is able to read it through. Okay, this is fairly good. This has been around, OCR has been around from 60s and 70s, 1960s and 70s. So fairly good attempt. Second thing is you can start to now show it more of these multimodal images. When you look at this, we do have an image. We are asking determine the city along with the landmark. And the first city, it's saying it is Rome, and the landmark is it's the Colosseum, right? It's able to now search through multiple of the database. It's able to figure out that this is what we are talking about. Very similarly, it's now able to identify that this city is Beijing and this is the Forbidden City landmark. And similarly, the third, it's able to identify that it's a Rio de Janeiro and it's Christ the Redeemer. So it's able to figure out even more, a broader set with just a prompt. We are asking it with a question, and it's able to answer us, right? Now, let's go a little more deeper. And then I'm saying that I'm showing this image, which has multiple of the pulses that you could notice, some of the nuts, pulses, cereals. And then I'm saying that, what is the price of this, right? I'm giving it an image and I'm asking it, now tell me the price of this. It's able to identify this, that the price of Brazil nuts is 3.75 euros. One thing to notice, it has automatically translated it as well for me. Whatever I see in Portuguese is automatically translated and it's now showing up as English. Similarly, I can give it an image and I can say that, hey, write a creative story about the image, what you see. And you could see that it has started to give us a storytelling saying that a Great Dane named Oakley, he loved to play in the snow, and it went about in being a lot more creative about everything squirrel and so on, right? Now this is interesting. Let's also give it something like this where we are showing it a video, right? And I'm asking it with the prompt that what activity is the person in the video doing? right? Now, when you look at it, it's a harder problem. We have to process multiple frames per second. And despite that, it's able to process it. The latency is also minimal. It says the person in the video is doing tricep dips. Okay, this gets even more interesting with this. I'm showing it one more, and then with the prompt that, hey, describe the video sequence by sequence. And the output that I'm getting is the young man is playing basketball on outdoor court. He dribbles the ball between his legs and so on, right? It's able to describe it sequence by sequence on whatever is happening. Now, these are the capabilities that we have in most of the large language models at this point. Now we'll take another pivot and we'll actually go towards what are the industry use cases. And in fact, we'll keep it a lot more interactive from here on. You have the fundamental set on what are the capabilities that it could handle and what are all the things that it could do. Now from here on, let's start with various of these industries. And I want to hear from you in terms of, now we have seen the capabilities. Let's assume you are from the media and entertainment industry, right? You might be already into it, or you might be planning, or let's probably put a hypothetical cap on you, right? What are the use cases that you feel would be useful for the media and entertainment industry with LLM search as well as generative AI coming into play? Any volunteers who would want to go for it? Either type your answer or raise your hand. Prototyping and reference. Very good. Thank you so much. So you could prototype very quickly. Very nice. What else could come in? All of these are harder problems, by the way. When you have to prototype, initially it used to take order of weeks to order of months for you to come up with something. But now you can think about some creativity, and then you would be able to generate the audio and the video, whatever is needed from the media perspective. Any other use cases that folks could think about? Anything else that comes to your mind on where else could you use Gen AI in the entertainment industry? Probably something around this, right? The content creation, which is what I believe the user said here on the prototyping, improving the content creation, production and management. You did notice that you just give a prompt asking it with a text, and then it would be able to generate video, or the other way around. You give it a video, ask it to generate some textual content for you. It will be able to do it. Similarly, you can personalize the audience and their experience. You can also use it for platform monetization. All of these are some of the use cases. I see a lot of answers coming in. Ad creation, very good. Thank you. So you can create good number of ads in a very short period, order of minutes, in fact. So you can just tell, hey, generate all these ads for me. It could be a teaching assistant, very good. Visually impaired people and assistive technology. Thank you. We are going to speak about education. And this is where all of you can now think a lot more broadly in terms of your own industry and your own startup on what do you want to focus on and how do you start to leverage some of these. So when you look at this, it can really boost your productivity. You can say that, who are my audience? How do I want to make it creative for a certain set of audience? You can give your prompts, and then it can identify, here are a set of customers, for example, only those who are in Bangalore, only those who are in New York, and then I can go about and doing this as a marketing solution as well. There are a good number of industry leaders who are capitalizing on this. For example, you could see some of the names, industry names. It could be as diverse as Time, Forbes, and so on, who've been using it for one or the other opportunity within this. So they have been using it for marketing, for increasing their productivity, for making sure that the content is created at a safer space and also at a faster pace as well. So all of these are something that we are already noticing it to happen. Okay, let's move on to a different industry, agriculture. I want to hear from you on what are the use cases that you think Gen AI could help in agriculture. Very important for the country. This is the backbone, and we are not supposed to neglect it as technologists, and uh, making sure that technology is going in line with whatever supports our country. agriculture. What do you think are the LLM use cases that we could now think of? Any thoughts, any broader references that you have in terms of where could we start to use scheduling and identifying issues? Thank you so much. Diseases and plants. So you did notice that it makes it a lot easier for us to identify any kind of diseases because it's multimodal, it's able to take in the image, it's able to work on that and make sure that it's happening. Thank you. Crop diseases, soil moisture, very good. So all of these, which requires multi-sensory data, you can process it at a faster pace and you would be able to make sure that it's coming out very quick on the inferencing as well, which used to uh, which used to rely on domain experts visiting the site can now be done without them going there, and we could be having as simple as a phone to do it, right? Maximize fertility by collecting data of physical environment. Thank you, Ishan. And then crop diseases, very good. Keep them coming in. Maximize fertility of land, improving production on taking multiple problems, climate uncertainty. Thank you. Thanks, Akash, Ashwini. All of these are really great points in terms of how do we ensure food security and how do we also make sure that it's going on in a good pace, especially with all of these stats in place. 60% increase in demand by 2050. Climate is drastically changing. We need higher yield. We need to lower the impact of food system. There's a huge possibility of opportunities which are given to us. So I want to just walk you through one of the examples uh, which has been pivotal. So this Vadvani AI has been an India-based startup. They started working with farmers. What you notice on the screen is an app which they developed. Farmers would take a photograph of it, upload it, and then what you would notice is it starts to identify what is the infestation that has happened. It also gives you an advisory saying that spray a particular pesticide for this to happen. So all of these are making it much simpler for the farmers to profit, where you're reducing the pesticide use, at the same time you're increasing the yield, and you don't need a domain expert to visit the site, right? And this has been integrated with LLM, makes it a lot easier for them to go about and quickly integrating and bringing in some results. Same thing in France, Open Food Facts, they have gone about and scanning an application. It can start to give you all of these calorie count. All of us are becoming calorie conscious at this point of time, right? We want to understand what is good, what is bad. So you scan and then you notice even in some of the apps within India, like Healthify, they start to give you something very similar. Now, having said this, let's pivot towards another industry. I want to give you as broad industry use cases so that you are able to take it back whenever you're trying to apply on your own industry. Let's look at education. Already there were some answers like, hey, we could use it for as a teaching assistant. Neha was telling that. Is there any other answers that you could think of for education? Where do you think we can start to leverage Gen AI and LLMs? Any other thoughts that comes into play? Where else do you think we could start to use Gen AI? For animation and teaching, very good. Now this makes it easier for a learner, right? Rather than showing him 1,000 words, you just show him a picture, and it makes it a lot easier for visualizing and for understanding. Thanks, Neha. What else comes to your mind? Where else can you use in this? Any other place that you see education can benefit out of this? For clearing students' doubt, right? Very good, thanks. So you can personalize for each and every student. For instance, you yourself would have noticed in Gemini or any other LLM like ChatGPT or Llama, when you go over it and ask that, hey, uh, teach me this concept as if you're teaching it to a 5-year-old, or you can say as if you're asking it to a high schooler and so on. So it can customize it, it can personalize. Very good, thank you. Jaya says student record assessment. Very good, makes it a lot easier. Exhaustive data research. one of the problems we have is in general, how do we go about and making a lot of exhaustive research? It's easier with this coming in to provide practical applications on this. Thank you so much. So all of these are very good themes that we are able to see. Whenever there are various personas, it could be a teacher, it could be a student, a creator, or a developer. Gen AI has been really driving new opportunities for everyone across the education sector. It could be to make sure that the content is easily consumable, and the teacher is able to see that they are able to personalize the application across various of the personas within student community. And all of these are really driving the way education sector is working. Okay, thanks. Let's move on. Let's see generative AI for retail. Let's assume now you're slightly switching. You're wearing the cap of a retail industry. Where do you think we can use Gen AI as a retail industry? Any thoughts that come into play? Where do you think we can start to use it? Consumer behavior. Thanks. We can start to track the consumer behavior. We can look at the pattern. We can look at the trends that are currently happening. Pricing, very good. So we can now start to think of how do we start to dynamically price it as well, right? Based on the customer needs for customer satisfaction. Very good. We can identify are there any ways that we can improve empirical measurement, managing sales. Thank you, all good answers. So when you look at this, you can generate, optimize your content, the content creation being one of them. You can have a conversational experience, right? One of the biggest issues that we have when we are shopping online or whenever, even if it's an offline store, how do how do I provide better customer experience? It's only via you having an interface that customers can reach out. So this can replace the humans in picture, which is going to make it easier and win-win for everyone there. And similarly, you can automate and improve a lot on the operations. So these are some of the problems that we can solve. I see more answers coming in on the chat, like personalized marketing and product recommendation, purchase trends, from showing ads and sales. Very good. All of the ad behavior and so on. You can personalize as per the consumer preference as well. Now, this has changed the way we have started to handle all of the customer service. In fact, one of my previous work with Uber was on building the conversational AI platform, where we were trying to reduce the amount of time it takes to answer any of the customer queries. And some of the work that we did is still in play, which we are happy about. So all of this, when you notice this, it could be partial, it could be complete automation that you could start to do at customer service. And when you look at it in detail, these are more of the industry leaders starting to adopt it in one or the other way on the retail. It could be Macy's to Wendy's. You have each of the brands which are well known who are using it for their product discovery to something around AI-driven messaging, chatbots, automated marketing campaigns, and so on. All right, having seen retail, let's again make another pivot to another industry. Financial services. Fintech is actually fast growing, and wanted to see in terms of how do you see this industry to grow? Gen AI for financial industry. What do you think could be the various use cases that we can leverage LLMs for? Any answers that comes in? What you think we could be doing for financial services? So we have seen a lot of use cases around analyzing stock, right? All of us would want to make profit in the market. And the trend is now moving towards from high frequency trading. All the HFTs are now shifting towards LLMs as well. Very good. So it takes into account multiple of this, right? Because sentiments affect a market. You could read through the news. You could also identify what's currently trending, and you can start to invest. Though I haven't started following this, but this is definitely one of the cases. Automation of finance report, helping customers with decision making. Important. All of these are helping in terms of how LLMs could do. You could also do tax calculation, trends of stock, credit scoring, fraud calculation, all important use cases. Thank you. So you'd notice that with each of this, your integration of technology with finance is becoming a lot more easier. Analysis of all the financial that is happening. So you can accelerate your growth and opportunities by especially the trend analysis, looking through the monetary aspects, what is really converting into sales and so on. Second is you could also look at the overall cost and operational efficiency that is happening in the financial industry. Third is regulatory framework. Now, this is a harder problem, especially with a good amount of state laws, national laws, international laws. You need to make sure that you're abiding by all of these regulatory framework and government rules. So it makes it much easier if you're starting to leverage some of the LLMs to do all of these heavy lifting for us, right? Now, when you look again at industry leaders, it could be most of the banks to some of the analysts like Moody's, Deutsche Bank, Scotia, and so on. They started to already integrate one or the other on the use cases which are listed. So it could be on the contact center efficiency, financial research and analysis, or identifying the fraud, financial crime, and so on. Prevention of cyber attacks. In fact, my own work has been on fraudulent activities and how do we prevent it. Okay, let's move on. Manufacturing. I just wanted to, I hope I'm going in the right pace. If it's too fast, let me know. And if you have any questions as well, please raise your hand. I would love to answer them towards the end. Okay, let's see. Manufacturing. Let's now wear a different hat that you are a manufacturing industry expert, and then you would want to leverage LLMs into it. Right? Where do you think we can start to leverage this? AI for manufacturing. Any thoughts that comes into play? So manufacturing is a harder problem, especially when it comes to prototyping, right? And then you would want to make sure that the prototype works, and then you're able to take it from your initial conception to production, which is all going to take a lot of time. This is where LLMs can come in. I see a lot of answers now coming in. You can look at using the products in testing phase. Absolutely, thank you. So you can make sure that you're able to develop this, visualize with the image as well as the video which it is generating. Just give it a textual input and it can start to visualize the product. Digital twins inspection. Thanks, Jaya. Very good. Use a voice assistant, one of the use cases that we could think of. Analysis of manufacturing data, quality control, very good. All of these are some good answers that's coming in. So you can get your products closer to the end consumer by making sure that you're giving them the sort of experience that they would encounter after the product is manufactured. Now you know that you are playing a pivotal role in making your product into smarter ones. You can optimize your supply chain manufacturing. A lot of data lies unused, so you can start to leverage them. You can start to use it during the manufacturing phase as well. When you look at again the industry leaders, all of them, it could be AB InBev, which is a beer manufacturer, uses it for quality control on their manufacturing process. It identifies in real time on how the quality of the beer is, and anything on the brewery which is not good based on the color and the aspects around it, it's able to detect and quickly alert. And similarly, GM has been using on one end, Continental, Unilever. You could see almost all the industry leaders starting to adopt Gen AI in one or the other use cases that they have been into. Okay, let's slightly switch into one more automotive related industry. We started with manufacturing. On the automotive, what do you think are the use cases that we need to think of? Automotive. Quite interesting in terms of what automotive holds, right? Customized design, very good. So you could personalize, you could customize. Again, the manufacturing also can play hand in hand. It makes it easier for you to bring up a lot more personalization onto the product. Okay, very good. Thank you. What else can come in? Any other answers that you feel can come in? Decision making by automatic vehicle. Yeah, this is getting interesting. Especially the LLMs are very heavy in general, right? Now, when you think of can it go into a cell phone? Probably not at this moment, but we are trying to distill it. We are trying to make it into something that can go into your phone. Now, what this would imply is it could go onto your car, your edge devices, making quicker decision making. You can avoid a lot of sensory data, or you can integrate even more, and you can start to make decisions. Very good. Thanks, Neha. Automation. Very good. Automation of the entire one. Identifying the environment of a vehicle from up close rather than some remote application. Very good. Thanks for all of these. Good for those who can't drive as well. Yeah, we would want to make sure that we are making it as diverse and as inclusive as possible. So all of these are some of the applications which we can encounter, right? It could be on unlocking the software-defined vehicle, as you have already noted. And similarly, you can make your customer experience 360 degrees. Someone can have a look at the car, they can personalize, they can make sure that it is up to the standards as well as what they would look at. Similarly, operations, whenever you want to accelerate your innovation, it makes it a lot simpler with all of these coming into play. Okay, let's pivot towards healthcare, another important one. We would want to look at healthcare and life sciences. What do you think are the problems that Gen AI could solve, especially with the recent outbreak of COVID? We did a lot of experiments at a rapid pace. What do you think? Quick report analysis. Very good. Thank you. So we can upload multiple documents. We can ask it to summarize. We can ask it to condense. The health reports are available in a single window. Thank you. So you can start to integrate all of your health reports, your X-rays, and so on. Makes it accessible. Uh, it's used in radiology for identifying patterns. Yes, this medical imaging is an interesting problem. At Siemens, my work was on oncology detection as well as on cardio cases. We were using models like CNN, where the accuracy, precision recall were relatively lower. You would say that 70s, 80s, 80 percentage, and still this is not reasonable for us to go into the market, right? That was the best we had around 2010. But now you fast forward it to 2024, and you notice that Gen AI has even more, a lot more data, that you give it an image and it would be able to identify the type of tumor, the type of lesion that has happened. It's able to pinpoint and then help the diagnosis a lot more easier. And with the caveat that we do not want to expose this all to the end user or the patient, right? We still need to have the intervention by the doctor. We would want to assist the doctor, and that's what Neha rightly points, saying that AI assistant for doctors. We want this not to directly go and create a lot more confusion to the patients. A doctor can actually play an important role. Travel assistance and environment understanding using vision, LLM plus YOLO for visually impaired. Very good. Thanks, Ashwini. I think that's a good use case, what we have, right? So when you look at healthcare, all of this that you said, we want to improve the efficiency of the healthcare system. It's already burnt out. Most of the clinicians who are available are burnt out because they have to do multiple things, including writing a lot of reports about what happened when the patient get admitted, what all went in. Some of them are legal, some of them are required from ethics perspective. You can offload a good number of things on the patient centricity using LLMs. Right? And the third thing that you could definitely do is on the research and development acceleration. You could see that you could advance a lot on the life sciences, the experiments that you conduct, the various prototypes that you could start to have on the pharmaceuticals as well, makes it a lot easier for us to go in. Now you also see that most of the healthcare, be it Mayo Clinic or HCA Healthcare, all of them have started to use this either as Scribe or using it for enterprise search, or using it for improving on the image analysis, storage, optimization using AI. Okay, and this is one of them from Google, which is called MedPalm, very specifically trained on the medical data. So this helps us in doing all of these capabilities. For example, you can summarize the content, and it can improve on the nurse's handoff from one to another. We do see that whenever a nurse wants to hand off to another nurse, it takes a good amount of time between them. So you can start to chronologically order it. You can make a lot of changes on the patient data, which is available to you. Okay, let's switch themes. Consumer packaged goods. We are at 6:46. I'll quickly go over, and then rest of the industry. Consumer packaged goods. I'll probably skip taking answers, but feel free to put in more. Like you can use it for creative, for product acceleration, as well as for operational productivity. Similarly, for supply chain, you have various of these, right? You could do document search, you could improve on your customer service automation, and multiple others. Gaming, another industry which has really boomed, is also seeing a huge amount of use cases coming in. It could be on game development, or uh, or coming up with various creatives or game experiences. These have been the ways in which various of the industries have started to establish their role. Here is one on telcos, be it Verizon, Vodafone, Swisscom, and so on. You could see that they have been using and leveraging already on one or the other platform, right? So to summarize, whatever we have seen, the shortest path to revenue, irrespective of the industry, is to make sure that your experiences are increasing to the customer. And Gen AI is one of the shortest path in which we can start to look through it. Okay, having said this, I want to just take about 5 minutes to quickly look at what are the best practices that I have seen with large language models. How many of you are already using LLMs in one or the other form within your company, within your startup or your enterprise? Quick show of hands. How many of you are doing it already? Okay, I could see some hands going in. Wonderful. So you've been using it. So this is primarily towards making sure that uh, some of the work that I did in the past, you can also start to leverage it. One of the examples, especially when you're dealing with such LLMs, is to make sure that you're also giving the prompt on what you want it to happen. For instance, we can give 100 instructions, but it would still not work. Rather, you show it like what an example is. For instance, here I'm saying that your task is to translate English to French, and I'm saying this is the input and this is the output that I need. Now the LLMs would be able to understand this a lot more better. I see a good number of people complaining later, saying that, hey, LLM is hallucinating, it's giving me one or the other result that I didn't really need. Now, giving an example really makes it a lot more easier. Similarly, you can also give negative examples. For example, someone starts with translate this, and then it says, now you're a doctor. You can prompt you, and you can say that you are not supposed to switch to a new mission. You stick on to your mission. Now this reduces the hallucination that it could do. Hallucination is one of the major problems that we have in LLMs. This is another way that I have seen we trying to control it. And the third thing is you can try to find the right model. For example, I have listed some of the flavors of Gemini, which is Google's own LLM. Now, you don't need to pick always the state of the art. Some of them are better with the previous models as well. So depending on the task, you can use some kind of decision to identify what might be the right model. This helps in your latency as well. Latency is going to be an issue because you're training and testing with huge amounts of data, and you'd also want to ensure that it's giving you the right result in the lowest possible time. Uh, so choose the right architecture. It could be just you have various flavors of LLMs as well. It could be encoder like only BERT, which is looking at the transformers. It could also be on decoder only or encoder decoder kind of models. Depending on what you would want, you can choose one of these architectures, which makes it easier for you to scale. The fourth tip that I have is it needs to be a little more structured, though I don't expect everyone to code. But if you're following some structured way of giving your inputs, saying that this is my rule one, this is my rule two, this is my rule three, it makes it a lot easier for you to generate answers as per your need. This is what makes it scalable whenever you're using it at industry scale. And similarly, you can use it as a function as well. It makes it easier for you to use it like a API at a later point of time. Another tip that I have is DARE prompt. DARE stands for determine appropriate response. For example, you start with some vision like you are a chatbot, and then someone is asking a different question which is not related to the industry that you are serving, saying that what is the time of some celebrities date of birth and so on, right? You do not want to really switch context, so you can put a prompt like this saying that before you answer, you must check if it complies with a specific mission. That's what you could do to reduce hallucination. And whenever someone is asking what is the best place in Milan, then it can start to say that my answers can be only related to something specific to travel, but not related to elephants and so on. And someone is asking that. Similarly, temperature. I don't know how many of you have tried this. Temperature is one of the parameters that you could start to set. Zero is where it doesn't become creative, it gives the same answer. It doesn't mean it's not hallucinating, right? So you need to also play a role in also validating the parameters which are set. And some of these, it makes it easier for you to scale up in your application as well. And similarly, you can look at the factuality grounding to see that whatever it is setting, I mean, despite setting it to zero, whatever the answers it is coming up with are still grounded with the truth and the factuality. You can increase the temperature. It can make it a little more creative so that it can actually be in favor of you. And similarly, you can start it to have some of the prompts that exploit the temperature. So setting it to one and asking it to repeat 1,000 times will incur everything to be collected in the memory, finally exploiting the system. So you might want to make sure that all of these are also taken care of. Having safety nets around the LLM's accuracy, intent, and what we are coming up with is also important. RAG is another important approach that people are coming up with. For instance, you have your own knowledge base and you want the results to be only from that. So retrieval augmented generation, or if you can just integrate an Elasticsearch kind of mechanism, it makes it also easier for you to go with. And similarly, you can identify the timestamp, you can try to fix it in case you identify it's hallucinating. And similarly, whenever you have an image, you do not want to have like multiple contents onto it. You want to pick single image, finish the task, and then move on to another one. So avoid blurry images, rotate in the right orientation. It makes it a lot easier for you to understand it. Similarly, for overall improvement in the latency, you can identify certain of the metrics. So some standard metrics are put. We can deep dive at a later point of time. But for now, selecting the right model, selecting the right metric, and making sure you're optimizing your prompt will play a important role. These are all the challenges and how to address them. You could formulate the problem well, train the model before training, making sure that the training data is well contained, benchmarking, and finally going with serving the model. All of this helps in your holistic LLM development. And finally, I would want to leave you with this. Understand the limitations of what we have with LLMs. Look at what works, what doesn't work. Sometimes it might be simple and naive approach with classical ML algorithms that might work rather than using LLMs as well. So use your best judgment in terms of what works and abstract it according to the strength that it forces, right? Having said this, I am leaving you with some resources. Please use it. You can take a screenshot or you can scan it around so that it helps you in looking at some of the resources, whatever I I was taking you through. It makes it easier for you. That said, this is me. This is my LinkedIn ID. Feel free to connect with me. I'll be happy to open this floor for questions. Please raise your hand. We can go one after the other. Happy to answer any questions. We have few minutes to answer.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. So we have a question from uh, Gov- I can't read the full name. Um,
Yeah,
Gov-
government polytechnic.
Government
Got that?
policy. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, I see the question. Do you want to ask or should I just read it?
you can
I
read it.
don't. Yeah. Given the LLM examples would be similar to which technique exactly? I don't think it's chain of thoughts exactly. Definitely not COT. So the LLM examples can come from anything, right? In fact, one of the resources I've given you is promptingguide.ai. You could see you can start with zero shot, but obviously the efficiency would be very less. So slowly start to improve in terms of few shot learning, chain of thoughts, instruction tuning, and so on. Makes it a lot simpler. The example what I gave was like a few short example. You could go for few short, you could go for chain of thoughts. Makes it a lot easier for you. Okay, other
Okay.
questions?
Anybody else who has a question?
We still have
Please
some
raise
time.
your-
Guys, please raise your hand. And then the floor is open to questions. Please raise your hands.
I think, as Piyush had said earlier, I think you were very good, clear. It seems like because there are not many questions.
Awesome. I
Also,
really enjoyed talking to all of you, and thanks for making it interactive as well. Thanks for all the questions.
and
We
thank you for
coming.
the
Yeah, let's take this question. How
yes.
can learning about education? So what I've seen, Vishal, most of the startups do is they try to personalize it according to the user. For instance, you can start to now give content and making sure that you can customize it based on what your users grasping power is. You can give them some mock test. You can ask the LLMs to generate question papers. In fact, folks have gone the other way around. Almost all students are now starting to generate questions and answers. They're starting preparing instead of using guides and their textbooks. They're now going with this. I don't know whether it's good or bad, but this is definitely one of the use cases. Do you think LLM grammars are more effective than system prompts? I can't really where to use which, right? LLM grammars, when you look at it, it does play a role. Uh, as much as possible, customization makes it easier for your own use case. If you give generic prompts, system generated prompts, it makes it harder for you to get the right effective answer. That is where I would want to restrict it as well, right? I hope that answers, Ashwini. Working on AI powered smart classes for visually impaired people. I want to integrate LLMs into my classes for on device computation. How can I quantize the model to reduce its size? One of the things that you could do, Ashwini, is to distill the model and making sure you can go with a teacher student kind of model. You have the teacher model to be the larger LLM, the student model to be a distilled version of whatever you need. For instance, you just need more of either it could be on the navigation or it could be on the voice controls and so on. You can distill only this. Or the other way around is you start to build grounds up from the data that you have. I would say the other way around is much easier, having a distillation of a teacher into a student model. Right. Okay. Were there more questions that I saw?
No, I don't think there are any more questions. But what you could do, Mithun, is that you could type out your email ID where one can reach you
Yes.
with a query on mail.
Yes, my LinkedIn is given here. I hope it's still displayed. So do connect with me on LinkedIn. Do message me. I mostly represent. I mean, I reply in a shorter pace on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way to connect with me as well. Okay, there's last one question. I think, do you mean that in terms of how OpenAI's GPT-2 was trained? Um, you mean on the student teacher model? All of these are large language models, GPT or Gemini. What we are looking at is some distillation that you can start to have, which is going to reduce the overall size. For example, when you look at Llama, it's 7 billion is the smallest model which is available. But you can reduce it to order of millions instead of order of billions. Right? You can make it a lot more simple and lightweighted. And there was one question on the on-device ML. On-device ML distillation is possible. You could also start to use some of the models which are specific. For example, from Google, we have Gemini Nano, which is very specific for on-device ML. Right now, it works on Android as well as on Pixel, but it could. Yeah, we have plans to expose it further as well. So these are some of the on-device ML that you can start to leverage on this.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Okay. Now, one more thing is that if there are no more questions, you can please write to or connect with Mithun on LinkedIn. Because we have to call it a day now. Mithun, I would like to now invite actually Rohit Batra. I hope Rohit, are you still online?
How can it be that Mithun is on the line and I am not there? I mean, that's not possible.
That is true. That is true. I would like to actually invite Rohit Batra to present our Springer voucher as a thank you to Mithun. Guys, can we have the Springer voucher please displayed on screen, please? Yes. So, Mithun, Rohit, why don't you go ahead and thank Mithun and say a few kind words from your side?
Uh, Thank you so much, Mithun, for this session. I am sure everybody would have gained immensely out of it. Personally, also, I think a lot of it I have actually learned today, but I'm sure I'm going to actually talk to you again and get more out of it. And on behalf of IHFC, just accept this token of appreciation and thanks so much for your time. All the
Yes,
very
Mithun,
best.
it's a Springer voucher of 150 euros, which you can use to get some more books. I hope not on coding, but maybe on something else, which is also to do with technology. And our team will be in touch with you to send you the voucher details further as to how to claim it. And thank you so much once again. Thank you all the people who joined in today. This was really a fantastic session. I think I personally, being a non-tech person, learned so much, which goes a long
Yes.
way to show that you made it simple for non-tech people like me. So thank you for that. And any other question, please feel free to reach out to Mithun. And uh, please, Mithun, thank you once again. And I hope I can invite you once again because I'm sure there's so many questions and so many topics you would like to cover.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And it's always a pleasure collaborating with IHFC. Thanks so much for this opportunity.
Yes,
Thank
thank you.
you
It's
so
our
much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, wishing everyone a very good night. And also, because I won't be seeing you till next month, a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everyone here.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys. All the very best. Bye.
All the very best. Good night. Good night,
Bye.
team.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Mithun. See you.
Bye.